So there are many important aspects in my role as a Court of Protection Deputy. Perhaps of paramount importance is the ability to protect a vulnerable person's interests. And vulnerable people can be all sorts of people. People that have suffered traumatic brain injury, maybe at birth or maybe as a result of a road traffic accident. Or somebody elderly in the advanced stages of dementia or Alzheimer's. And that incapacitated person is my client. And it is very important that I put that client's interests first. Secondly, it's very important that I develop and maintain a good working relationship with family members. I need the family's cooperation so that together we can implement a plan for the incapacitated person. The family, of course, will have known the incapacitated person maybe since birth, and they can provide a very full picture of the needs of that person. So that communication I have with the family is key. As deputy, I am the messenger for the incapacitated person. And so it's so important that the family accept me and know that we're on board together. It's also very important that I manage to create order out of chaos. And I mean that in a number of ways. Firstly, very often court papers that we receive are not in good order. They're in a mess and need sorting. But more particularly, the client's affairs are very often in a mess when the order appointing me has been made. And I need to find clarity for that person about their current financial situation. And from that, I need to create a plan. And I need to do this inexpensively and quickly. There are, of course, many challenges in my role as a Court of Protection Deputy. I need to work out what my client would have wanted if they had actually had capacity. It's extremely unlikely that I will have known that person before they lost capacity. And so I'm dependent on going at the family's pace, learning from the family what is required. I need to go at their pace, very often much slower, because families are under distress because of the situation they find their loved one in. It's also a great challenge to deal with family members who are unable or unwilling to work with me. There is always resistance to a stranger being the gatekeeper of the money. I understand that. I would be the same. I'm seen as an intruder on the family's private affairs. Now, if my client is a child or a young person, the family are in a terrible state of shock. And I need to be sensitive to that. And 10% of my cases, unfortunately, the family themselves can be dysfunctional. And I need to be very sensitive to those family members in relation to the resistance. There's going to be frustration by that family, sadness, loss, and confusion. And I need to work hard not to take any comments they make about me personally. They're not being deliberately belligerent. And I use my mediation skills as an accredited mediator to buy into that family, to overcome those difficulties. I also need to safeguard the interests of the vulnerable person. So take elderly clients. I have to decide where the client will live, whether it's in their own home or maybe they need to go into residential care. Of course, the costs of care will result in a reduction in family inheritance. And that in itself causes a tension between the family and the incapacitated person and my role. But again, these difficulties have to be overcome. Because in the end, it's my job to ensure that my client's well-being is always put before the needs or desires of the next generation. Of course, my job is also very rewarding. There's no doubt it is a privilege to be the vulnerable person's voice, to ensure that their financial and personal needs are central at all times in the way in which I operate. There can be the great reward of working closely with the family. Families can offer special and personal touches to make the vulnerable person's life more comfortable. And of course, I believe that's the very best outcome for all of us.